What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files Update Special Edition. What's going on for all you people who haven't signed up for Viall Files Plus yet? There's many more of these. I thank you all for tuning in to the update special on Classic. It's one of our more popular shows. And I just want you to know, there are so many more of these behind Viall Files Plus, and it's free to sign up. It's a cup of coffee.
You were like kind of on the verge of tears there. It was like, it's free to sign up.
Free to sign up.
I promise.
Anyways, enough about that. Truly, it's free to sign up. Go to viallfiles.com. So if you like this update, and if you're like thirsting for more, just go to viallfiles.com. There's a button on that first page, and it says Viall Files Plus. You tap that, put in a little bit of information, and away you will go. How many updates do we have behind Viall Files Plus now?
This will be...
We have
10.
Last week we released 10. Next week will be the 11th.
11 episodes of updates that you are missing out on.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are just dying for these updates. Anyway, I'll shut the fuck up. This is unrelated to necessarily relationships, but I sent this to my team. A smart guy, Eric Weinstein. He's just a cerebral man. I've actually met him a few times.
That's an awesome description. He's just a cerebral man.
He really is. He's just a big brain.
Big old noggin.
Anyway, I saw a TikTok of him talking to some other guy in some podcast or whatever about life, and he was talking about death. And he's like, most of us think we die when we're 90, and if we're lucky enough to live that old. And then he said something that he said to his grandfather, I presume, when he was a young man, which speaks to how just genius this man is. He said, there is a last time. If you're listening, I just want you to think about this. This is just like thought for the soul today. There is a last time that you do everything, and you don't know when that is. Let's just think about that. It really puts things in perspective of being in the moment, You just never know. And like it could be big things. It could be like a trip that you took to Paris. You go to Paris and you're just like, oh, I'll go. Yeah, it was pricey, but the flight wasn't that long. I'll probably come back. And then you just realize that like there's just other places in the world you want to see. Or they just never go back to Paris. I don't know. And maybe that's fine. Maybe Paris wasn't that great. But how many times when you do something do you really savor that moment and realize I'll never be here again, or I'll never experience this again? We very rarely like stay in the moment, to really appreciate where we're at. And there's so many moments, there's so many little moments of life where that will be the last time you experience said thing.
I think about that so much with dating, and also in terms of this stage of life of like how, I hope to one day live with a partner and have our own family, but how right now I have roommates, and about how as much as sometimes it is like frustrating to not have like the stability or control over a space, like coming home to like a roommate on the couch and like their warmth and love, like it is so sad to think about. There will be a last time I come home to a roommate and we end up like giggling for 45 minutes about nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't really miss roommates per se.
Same.
But I do. There are
charms about it.
Aspects of having a roommate, that kind of just chilling with your boys, talking about stuff, having our Madden tournaments. And I know technology, if we really wanted to, we could rally up the troops and we could play online. It's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for a bunch of degenerate mid-20-year-olds who would bring over their big screen TVs and have like multiple TVs of like just a bunch of like young adults playing video games, just like, I miss that. It was my Christmas morning, and that will probably be the last time I ever experienced something like that. And you just never really, in the moment, you never really think this will be the last time. There always will be something more. And to realize that there's so many moments in our life that will be the last time we do that thing, and we never really appreciate it in the moment. I don't know.
Can I make a confession? I recently swapped out. I had like a dresser next to my bed that I was using as a nightstand, like since I moved out to LA. And like it's cheap, and 2 of the drawers are completely broken, and so I only can use
Facebook Marketplace?
Oh no, it just started out cheap. I bought it new, but it was cheap new. And so I only was using like 2 out of the 4 drawers, and I finally found bedside tables so I could have one on either side, and like, we're growing up in that regard. So I moved my my dresser out and I had it sitting by the door. And I just sat next to it and I had a moment with my dresser and I thanked
There you
it
go.
for being part of 3 different apartments and being
Love
just
that.
next to me for different moments of life.
There you go.
And then I said goodbye to my dresser.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Yeah.
But for all you single people out there who are complaining about being single, and I know it's a grind, and I know dating sucks, but it's life. What makes life so good is the shit. It just is, And if it was always sunny, I don't know. I guess I really like it when it's always sunny. But there is
yeah,
something
it's like we live in LA.
Yeah, there is
That's
something.
the premise.
No, but I mean, we had for even LA weather. It's been gloom. It's been gloomy most of the summer. I left LA for about 3 weeks. Came back, completely different weather. It's now hot and sunny. I'm loving it. It's great. I appreciate it more. There is something to be said about, it's the highs aren't as good without the lows. It is true. So you are gonna miss someday the independence and the freedom of your singleness and your ability to fuck around and meet interesting people and have first kisses and lose your mind over completely average people. There is beauty in that, and it's kind of fun, and it's kind of wild, and it's chaotic. And like, we talk about toxic stimulation all the time, and there's a reason why we're addicted to it, because it is a little messy and fun. So, don't be afraid to appreciate it from time to time. Anywho, do we have an update before we get to our callers?
We do. Okay.
We.
Are you happy to be in Paris?
I prefer the Midwest voice.
Julie?
Can you read it in a Julie voice, please?
I'm so sorry to the listeners at home.
How did she get named Julie?
Yeah.
She was this character that I came up with years ago. I filmed a sketch of her. She had a resurgence during COVID because it was like having to
this is
homeschool
deep
her kids.
kids.
I want more character work out of you.
Okay.
That is
Great.
This is a little bit of
Can I provide the context in my normal voice?
This is a one-on-one. This is just like a coaching opportunity that we're just having in front of everyone.
I'm just looking at my hands.
I'd like to see you.
Pretending I don't.
Amanda obviously invests a lot in improv. Whatever the fuck it's called.
Total fuckery with other adults who are silly gooses.
It's great. I find it to be an investment in the show. You have a theatrical background. We have yet to really tap into that. And it's been like 2 years now. And how long have you worked for me?
We're coming up on 3 here, Nick. Don't shortchange me.
What the fuck do I know? Anyway, welcome. I'd like to see more character work.
Okay,
out of
great.
you. Anyways,
This could be an Emmy award-winning podcast
it could.
if we tried hard enough.
If we,
Right.
yeah. So do
Is that
better.
real?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so.
I was like, are the Emmys adding a podcasting category? Although I will say, not in like a Viall Files specific means, I think there needs to be a podcast award show. I think that's like
There is.
Isn't there one?
Yeah.
We've been nominated before.
a People's Choice.
You mean
I'm
one that people
sorry.
care about?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I'm talking like, I think we could surpass the Tonys. No disrespect to the theater
Holy
community,
shit.
but I think we could surpass
Do you think the
Tonys.
podcast awards could be a part of the EGOTs?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. EGOT P.
EGOT P?
PGOTs.
EGOTs.
P-
There you go.
You got a PGOT.
Okay. Do you remember Megan?
Here, I can't hear you.
Can I provide
can't-
the context
I
in a
can't.
normal voice?
Sure. Okay. Well,
And then I'll read the update in the
Well,
Julie voice.
just for preference, our reader doesn't sound like
Okay.
this.
All right. So then I'll just speak like Julie now. Okay, great. Sounds good.
We're just
I love
working.
this.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
This is a great day of
I can't.
my life.
What? What do you?
My God, you guys.
Okay, now I
So,
can
do
hear
you
you.
remember Megan? She was on episode 566. She was caller number 2, and she said that she had a failed third attempt at a father figure.
I do. Yeah.
And so this guy had recently ended things with her mom. And all of a sudden he's posting on Facebook. He's like, I'm in a new relationship. He had some financial skeletons in his closet.
Uh-huh.
And so I believe your advice was to maybe draft up a letter, put down her thoughts, and just kind of figure out, what she wanted to say. How was that?
Yes.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
I loved the
Great.
sass from Julie at the end.
Yeah, she's the sassy lady. All right. So, Megan says, life has been pretty crazy since we last chatted, but as promised, I wanted to
I'm
give...
hearing Allie.
Am I supposed
Oh
to
my
keep
God.
going?
Yeah.
Okay. I was on episode 566 and had the stepdad issues for context. Since chatting with you, my partner and I bought our first home and have booked a trip to Europe this summer. So exciting. Part of the big takeaway from my time with you guys was to draft up a letter to my stepdad explaining how I was feeling about everything since he posted about his new relationship, and it had come out that he had a litany of financial skeletons that he hid from my mom and us as a family. As I began to work on my letter, new information and dramas kept unfolding, and as a result, I never actually ended up finishing it. Instead, my frustration and hurt continued to grow as I heard how he was talking to my mom and the continued lack of honesty towards us as a family. Turns out, wait for it, he recently withdrew and spent my mom's tax return without her knowledge from an account that he was supposed to close. He had made several bad investments on my behalf as my financial advisor that was costing me hundreds of dollars a month and claimed to not know about it. Had me collecting his air miles on my personal credit card for years without my knowledge.
Wait, hold on. Had her collecting his air miles?
So every time she spent on her card, it resulted in a mile for him, I think.
Oh, that's so sneaky.
Yeah.
How does one do that?
Well, he helped me set this up as a 17-year-old kid.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's
You
like-
bet your ass
It's like
he
you're
is.
getting the rewards.
He's a bit of a con artist.
Yeah. And best of all, chose the same small town that my mom, brother, and I all live to move with his new family and start their life here when we are bound to bump into them. I finally had a phone call with him to confront some of these issues, and he says he still hopes for a relationship with my brother and I, but my response to him was that I hoped for accountability and respect for us and our 12 years of history and feel like I never got that. I told him that I don't know where to go from here because I am hurt and I can't trust him. Too much has happened and too much keeps happening that I don't believe he understands the damage he's done. The phone call ended in tears. I feel like I said what I needed to say, which was healing for me. Although I do wonder what I will do if I ever bump into him at the grocery store. At least I know not to use the same Air Miles credit card when I am there. Hope you guys are well and enjoyed this little messy update.
Wow. Well, kind of a sad update.
I know.
Like,
That's why I wish I wouldn't have had to
really?
read it in this voice.
No, I think it brought some levity to a very sad story.
I'm really sorry to Megan for that voice.
Sometimes you just gotta let people go. I think it's time to let them go.
Megan.
Well, and the fact that he's
fucker.
moving his new family to their small town, like I'm just like, it doesn't feel like he cares about them,
Oh.
which has got to be so painful after 12 years of viewing him as a father figure.
Yeah, no, it sucks. I mean, it sucks. But as we said in our intro moments earlier, life is hard. Bad things happen to all of us. You know, it's not a matter of if bad things are going to happen to us. It's just when. And even if that bad thing is we just die, you know, it's eventually, you know, we are going to deal with death and we're going to deal with sickness and we're going to deal with tragedy. It's just a matter of time, not to get us all on and in between some of those very, you know, finite and tragic, painful experiences, there's a litany of all these other things that, you know, on some version we all have to deal with. This is all to say, like, I only say that because this is one of those situations with our writer inner, you know, because, you know, her title was like her third attempt at a dad kind of thing.
Mhm.
It'd be very easy to, you know, let that self-pity come in, and justifiably so. She would be justified to feel sorry for herself in this situation. But clearly this is a man who has proven time and time again that he's not interested in learning from his experiences. He's a survivor. He's a cockroach type of, you know, there are people out there who they're just kind of willing to do anything they need to do to get by to better themselves. And unfortunately, they can be charming and charismatic, and they are not without having good qualities, you know? And so you are able to bond with these people. And the fact that, you know, he played a role as a father, it must be hurtful. But she can get through it, and she sounds like she's doing okay, you know? And I just think it's one of those situations at some point, and I'm glad she kind of didn't finish the letter and didn't send the letter. It's like sometimes you just have to give up on people, you know? She has to give up on him so that she doesn't give up on herself type of thing. This is going to sound almost morbid. But at some point, I might lose some loved ones, some my parents. Like I might lose my parents before I lose myself. I don't even like saying it, but like I'm not gonna go find a new dad or a new mom, you know. And so as an adult, like she doesn't need to keep trying to find that father figure. You know, maybe the male roles that play in her life are more in the partner or friendship, companionship, and things like that. So it just might be time for her to let go, you know, rather than finding that closure or trying to maintain a relationship. And it sounds like she's on that page, you know. It's just there's no point in
healing.
I want to commend her as well for moving forward in her own life. My partner and I bought our first home.
That's
we
what
have
I'm saying.
A trip booked to Europe. Like, how great for you
so
to
many
kind
positive
of have
things
other
she has
to
focus on. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hope that she just gives up on him and doesn't kind of wallow in the, you know, I could never find a dad, you know. Like, clearly her life has a lot of positives. And as a result, she is experiencing, you know, so many positive things. She's also had a lot of negatives, right? But thankfully, the positives have outweighed the negatives, or allowed her to have this, what sounds like a fairly healthy relationship with her partner, and a lot of positivity in her life. And I think at times we can, again, it's easy to focus on the negative. It's easy to not focus on the positive. It sounds like she is, but you can ruin a good thing by dwelling too much on the things that we don't get, and that can ruin the things that we do have. And so it sounds like she's doing a good job of whatever I am telling her to do.
I also think, as you know, she has all these amazing events. Whenever I go through like a really bad time, it's interesting to me how it can taint other experiences in really sneaky ways, of like it being a subconscious thing. And a question that has honestly changed my life, that an old roommate once asked me, was just like, when was another time you felt this way? When was the last time you felt this way? And so often it was like, oh my, like that was like kind of, you know, it's like such a therapy hack of a question. Because if you find yourself getting really frustrated at your partner and you're like, I just feel like you're fucking me over and you don't care, you know, and then it's like, wait, nope, I'm talking to my stepdad right now, or like whoever it is. And so I feel like also just for Megan, like as she like kind of moves through this, in addition to the times where it's like you're consciously thinking about him, like knowing that it might also like you might be subconsciously like having some of that energy creep in, which is so normal.
Yeah, I mean, it would be
just, like,
normal for her to
it.
not trust people, you know? I mean, like, there's so many probably situations in which she just trusted this guy, only to not realize that she was being screwed over or manipulated and lied to. And that can fuck with you, you know?
Totally.
So, what an update.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
Welcome back, Liz. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to be talking with you again. You know what? Let's just play a quick clip for our audience to remind them of your story and why you called in the first place, the advice we gave, and then we'll get an update on where things are now.
Blowjobs are ending my dates.
Okay. Please elaborate.
It's happened 3 times now. 3 different guys.
All right. So walk me through these dates.
Sure. So the first one, I guess, went into going down on him probably after a minute at most. He finished from that. He said, and I quote, "I'm going to go wash my wiener." Took a shower alone. Came back and wanted to go to sleep immediately. New guy. Again, second date, go to dinner. He kind of invites himself over to my house. And I was like, all right, confidence. And he started out very generous. So this was a little bit different. He was very generous to me. So I was like, I'll return the favor. Same thing. He completes from that, proceeds immediately to go into my bathroom, wipe himself down with my nice hand towel. He puts it back in the ring. And then he comes back and same thing, is ready for bed, and then leaves in the morning.
How many dates had you been on with this guy?
This was a second as well.
Okay. And then another guy?
Yes. When he was driving me back to my car at the end of the night, he initiated making out, and he was getting very excited already in the car. And I was like, you're welcome to come back to my apartment so that we don't have to do this in the car. I was like, I haven't hooked up with anyone in a little while. This could be like a fun one night thing, whatever. Very quickly, all of his clothes are off. He's completely naked. Literally all of mine are on. I've not taken off one article of clothing. So I'm being very generous. Same thing. After a long blowjob, he finishes, he collapses on the bed. I lie there for a little bit, and I'm this close to saying, if you're not even going to attempt to touch me, I think you should go. And then he goes, I think I should probably go back to my place because I don't really sleep well next to other people. And I was like, yeah, I think you should. And then I never heard from him.
Okay. I'm not trying to shame sex, and I'm not trying to shame anyone who wants to hook up. I just think for you would be better served to, if you want to go on dates and hook up on the first, second date, I think you need just to be fair to yourself and recognize you need to have the lowest of expectations of these guys. And so with that being said, be more selfish. If you are going to hook up on the first or second date, stop giving blowjobs it's, the blowjob should be the reward. And you can have some fun with it. Be like, nah, I'm not. And you make a joke. Like, I know how y'all guys are. You think you get a fucking blowjob and you're fucking done. You're like, nah. I'm like, I ain't hooking up without getting mine, And honestly, I'm curious. I think we need to call out men more often when it comes to like hookup culture. I think if we're going to be in participating hookup culture, we need to at least start having conversations before we're hooking up. Because now it's like, I'm willing to bet when you go on these dates, there's just a lot of like awkwardness these fucking guys are taking off their clothes, or it's just like, let's go up to my place and we'll turn on the TV and we'll start making out. But there's very little conversations about expectations or what each other likes and expectations around like, I expect to get off, here's how I like things. And I know that might be awkward, but if you can take your clothes off and share fluids, I think we need to start having these conversations, because we're just going to continue to be disappointed over and over again if we don't make some changes. I really think we just need to start holding these men more accountable for their awkward and inappropriate behavior. And then, and your final gift to these guys that you end up rejecting, it may give them a note to say like, talk less to get less advice from your guy friends and more advice from your girlfriends. Don't give strange men the benefit of the doubt.
From personal experience, the anxiety of putting the boundary down, even in the moment, and how terrifying that feels is still 10 times better than like the pit in your stomach and the guilt the next day of why the fuck did I hook up with him? I actually didn't want to.
Totally.
Yeah.
And just remember,
Completely.
on these dates, don't give strange men the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
I mean, like we're gonna make that a TikTok. All right, we're back. In your own words, I know we played the update, but why don't you just kind of summarize why you called in, what we said, what did you do with that information, where are we now?
So recently I had gone on this third date that was essentially ended by giving, like you said, the evil blowjob.
The blowjobs are ruining your dates, yeah.
Right. And it had happened 3 times, and I was just feeling very confused and frustrated by the temperature of kind of the dating culture that I was finding myself in. And I think like the cusp of the advice that you gave me was that if I'm going to engage in hookup culture, just in general, that I need to take responsibility for the role that I have been playing and putting myself in these situations, and not to expect these men whom are essentially strangers to invest in me and be willing to, I guess, put in as much effort as I've been putting in. And so that information, I think, was very enlightening and eye-opening for me. And I realized after that conversation and listening to it back, I have been a big part in these situations, and that because I really don't know these people, like I am just falling into this pattern, and I don't want to do that anymore. So since talking to you, I think I've been much more intentional about whom I give my time to, and not putting myself in those situations with these people that I don't know. And it's been really helpful. It's been good.
It's awesome. It's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's not like we're not trying to let, in your case, men off the hook, right? And we're not saying that for anyone who participates in hookup culture that they shouldn't be respectful and courteous and acknowledge that you are putting yourself and whoever you are participating with in a kind of vulnerable situation. But that's like a utopian world to expect everyone to, act that way. And so, yeah, it's tough to count on strangers to take care of you emotionally, right? Because that was it's like, hey, I'm going to hook up. And it was the emotional aftermath that you were feeling as a result of some of these men not living up to whatever expectations you had of them in these very vulnerable situations. So it's awesome that to hear that things have been, better. But do you have any specific examples of a dating situation where you chose, like, you came to that fork in the road and you chose a new path and how that felt, or how did it all play out and what was the aftermath? Like, because it's one thing for me to say, hey, you should try to this, but those are tough conversations to have with people. And I know we talked about, hey, if you're going to participate in hookup culture, be upfront with what you expect to get and have your needs met. Have you ever gotten to that situation yet? Or do you have any specific stories of what's changed, just for the people listening who might push back on what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, sure, Nick, but like easier said than done and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, totally. So the night of the call that I had with you guys, I actually had a first Hinge date. And it was the first date that I had been on since the last really bad blowjob ending date that I talked about on the show. From what I thought, this guy had some potential. He was cute, witty via messaging. And if you can believe it, he was also very weird. And this date was also very bad, but it had a totally different ending than it could have because of the advice that I received. He, first of all, was 40 minutes late. I would have left, but I had gone out of my way. He said he fell asleep and we were meeting at 8:30. He put his non-alcoholic but very expensive drink on my tab and then refused to pay me for weeks. I had to follow up with him 4 times. I finally had my friend draft a text that was full of a bunch of expletives, and he's helped me. And then he also told me this crazy story about how he was still in really close contact with his most recent situationship, which I know is a big no on this show. And he found out that this girl was also secretly sleeping with his roommate from a secret, creepy, magazine cutout letter message that was hand delivered to his sister's house. I don't know, but it was very weird. It was this crazy date. And I was just kind of sitting there with this internal monologue, where am I? What am I doing? And then he said, there's this really great bar, a 5-minute drive away. Do you want to grab a second drink? And I panicked and was like, sure. And I went to my car and I thought, I don't want to do that. And I heard Allie's voice in my head say, the awkwardness of saying no in the moment.
It's so much better than the regret the next day. Yeah. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, I heard that. So I called him from my car and I said, I just checked my emails and I totally forgot that I scheduled a really early doctor's appointment tomorrow. So I'm going to go home, but have a good night. And I went and got myself fries, and it was the best ending to the night ever.
That's awesome.
It was great.
Yeah. And maybe in the past, you might have gone and got that second drink, and then he would have propositioned you to come home with him or vice versa. And, you might have had to suck a dick you didn't want to suck.
No. Lord.
Maybe.
But
exactly.
But yeah, well, good for you. Yeah. And I'm assuming that felt a little empowering. And also probably not as scary as you anticipated.
Nope. I mean, I was nervous making the phone call. Obviously, I told a little white lie just to protect his ego. But afterwards, I was like, wow, I'm a superhero. That felt great.
No, good for you.
I did what I want to do. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Crazy how simple it can be, but how challenging it can feel in the moment. But I think you're a great example of just what hookup culture and dating culture has turned us into, where sex has become this kind of expected part of just a basic date kind of situation. It's and the obligation of the feelings of obligations that come with it. Man, that's a horrible feeling. But good for you for changing course. There's going to be plenty of bad dates out there, so they don't all deserve a blowjob.
Exactly.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
more recently, I'm not saying this gentleman anymore, but I saw this guy for about a month, and it just gave me hope because I was very excited for the time being. And for the first several dates, it was simply like getting drinks. Like on the first date, we didn't so much as touch. And I was very intentional about it. And I think that was very helpful. Just everything that we had talked about and going into it knowing like, these are my boundaries. I'm not crossing them. I did give him hand sanitizer eventually when the time came. I haven't used your hand washing line yet, but it's in there.
Hand
I'll do
sanitizer
it
is
one
pretty
day.
good. Yeah. Well, good for you. This is great to hear. Hopefully, more of the same going forward. And if you are lucky enough to meet someone you start really bonding with, yeah, slow it down. The more I hear people's stories, you don't have to be a conservative person per se, or even have conservative values. But I just do think that we regardless of your beliefs, like sex is always going to be a powerful thing. It's confusing, and the stronger your emotional connection is, before you ever participate in any type of physical activity, is makes it a better situation. It just does, and it allows for more room for error in the physical department if things could get awkward or uncomfortable. So there's no downside to building that rapport or building that emotional connection. And if you can, abstain, I think everyone, especially if they like someone, is doing themselves a favor. And if you give into the moment, you give in the moment. But I think there's very little downside to waiting things out longer than we're used to these days.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the update. Keep us posted on your new kind of dating journey. More, I think really stories like this are very helpful to people who listen.
Totally, I will.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care. Thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
We have another written update. It was from our Texting Office Hours caller from episode 523, which was our episode of Going Deeper with Dr. Maya Shunker. And she called in for Texting Office Hours to say that she had recently matched with a guy on Hinge who was extremely allergic to dogs. And she had a dog. And so she wasn't sure if this was like a complete deal breaker or if she should still give this guy a chance. And so she gave us a little...
He was a little prickly, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In addition to being allergic to dogs?
Yeah.
You have a great memory.
Yeah, he was. Because it seemed also like, from my recollection of the call and how I remember interpreting it when she called in, it was like, this feels like a lot of, we're talking a lot of logistics for someone who just matched with each other. Like, it just feels like, why don't we just see if we like each other first? But I guess inherently, if it is going to be a deal breaker, good to know up front. But we have a little update on her dating life.
Okay. Hi, Nick and household. Per Nick's advice, I went on a date with the guy who was allergic to dogs to get myself back out in the dating scene and feel comfortable. The date wasn't that bad, but I did not feel a spark or feel the want to go back out with the guy. During the date, he mentioned a few times how he was a really clean guy and he has issues with people who are late or aren't organized. I was pretty turned off by this, knowing that I have some factors going against us and he wouldn't be able to hang out with my dog. Anyway, I ended it after a few days and he seemed shocked, but I didn't want to waste either of our time. Looking ahead, I met a guy about 3 weeks ago while I was out and we instantly connected. We hooked up the first night and he quickly was saying how he wanted to see me again. He texted me almost immediately saying how great it was to see me, etc. The issue is that he lives 2 hours from my city for work. He visits my city a lot as his friends and family still live here, so I wasn't too concerned by the distance at first. Right after we met, I left to go back to my hometown for 2 weeks for weddings, and we texted a lot and FaceTimed. It was all going well, and we met up this past weekend while we were out and had an amazing time. Again, he was saying how he was nervous to FaceTime and was so happy that we did, and that he was wanting to spend time together once I am back in town, constantly. He spent the night, and after hooking up, we both opened up and talked more honestly about our pasts, and were asking more questions about my friends, family, and whatnot. Again, He left to go back to his friend's apartment. He was saying how happy he was that we were together and was loosely making plans. The thing is that we are both traveling for the next 3 weeks between weddings, work, and the 4th of July weekend. I'm nervous that things are going to fizzle out because we aren't physically together, and I'm unsure of what to do to continue things and stay excited about each other for the next 3 weeks. We text somewhat consistently, but it feels like things are slowing down. I'd love some help on next steps and what to do. Thanks.
I don't know if there's anything to do.
To keep the spark alive on you did a long distance relationship.
Well, yeah, but like it's usually the distance that keeps things exciting, to be honest. It's missing each other. You know, I had a situation where this particular person at the time I pursued for a while, actually. And then finally we started hanging out. And then like I went home for Christmas and stuff. We lost that momentum. And we found it again or whatever. But for me, it just kind of told myself that, it was that kind of internal, like maybe this isn't my person. In those situations, I think the distance and the missing would make you kind of long for someone. I guess what I'm saying is sometimes you just have to let it play out. I don't think there's some magic, okay, all right, first do this. Step 2, now do this. You're not trying to manipulate someone into finding a connection with you, Also, dear writer-inner, you might be psyching yourself out. Sounds like you both had a lot going on. And with a lot going on, you might be reaching out to each other less. Sometimes boredom gives people a false sense of mutual excitement because you kind of just don't have anything better to do. You're just sitting in your hotel room on work trips, being like, I don't know, I got my work done. I don't know, what's Jenny doing, But when you're sent off fireworks or meeting family, it's the summer, and you're out there, you're traveling with work. It's not that you've lost excitement. You just got to have other things going on. So let it play out. See where it goes. Keep being yourself. Don't change what seems to be working. And just because things have started to slow down doesn't mean you need to adjust. It maybe just means, maybe it's not as mutual as you hoped it would be. But also just kind of check in. You can just say, hey, looking forward to seeing you. At some point, you get to say, like, it seems like maybe we've slowed down a little bit. It's like one of those things, like, usually, and if it has, you're probably going to get to, like, oh, no, I've just been busy and shit like that. But just always remember, if they want to see you, they will. If they are missing you, they'll go out of their way to try to see you. As hard as it is to realize that maybe they aren't missing you and they're not excited about you, it's just part of dating. Listen, you met a stranger. You had a good couple first weeks. The sex, sounds like the sex was good. You both enjoyed it. Listen, hook up on the first date, but as we've talked about, it comes with risks of fucking with your emotions and fucking with your perception of what is actually a real connection versus like, that was some really good sex, I want to do it again. So I would just say, let it play out. Try to enjoy each other. If he's not your boyfriend, stop acting like you're in a relationship. Stay on the apps. You don't even have to like go out there and start swiping. Just mentally tell yourself, I'm still independent. I'm still single. I'm still not in a relationship. And I can still court this guy and I can still invest in this person without completely mentally taking myself off the market, because that matters. When we meet someone, we get excited. So like, well, I'm just gonna focus all my attention on them. And I just, it's like, I'm going to reward them with my loyalty because I want to show them like how great of a partner I can be. And it's just like, well, you're not there yet, So mentally just you don't even have to tell them anything. You don't have to like check in with them. You just tell yourself, until they're my boyfriend, I'm going to stay open. I'm going to keep my, options open. I'm going to be willing to meet someone else. And that energy, I honestly think, will translate into these people you're dating and not feeling so confident and so secure that you're available whenever they want and need. I would internally change your perspective. If said writer-inner has, ever since she met this guy, without any conversations about defining the relationship or setting mutual expectations of like what they expect of each other, my guess is that she has, as an individual, kind of decided that she's off the market and that she is fully focused on seeing where this relationship goes. I think in the early stages of dating, you can see where something with someone goes. You can learn about them. You can, start building a connection, all while still keeping yourself open to meeting new people. And at whatever point you guys mutually sit down and define a relationship, if you come to some common ground, then you can adjust your behavior, but don't adjust your behavior without having a conversation with him first. So that would be my 2 cents. Let me know if it works or helps.
Hang in there, girl. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's like when you feel the relief and you're like, oh, I did it. I'm done. I found the person. I don't have to deal with the bullshit of the apps anymore. And then it's like, wait, nope, it actually is a much longer process to verifying that it is the person. And it does involves a lot less like actual vetting than I think it does, and a lot more just like sitting back and seeing how they behave. And it's brutal.
Also, it sounds like she, without saying it directly, had disappointment in the fact that he wouldn't spend the night after they hooked up. Am I interpreting that correctly? She kept saying, again, he went and slept at his buddies or something like that.
He spent the night, and after hooking up, we both opened up and talked more honestly about our past. And then it was like, again, after he left to go back to his friend's apartment, he was saying how happy he was that we were together.
Seems like he spent the night. I
Okay,
think he maybe
So
went
I
back
think
to
it's
his
like-
buddies in the day.
I think and the again is coming from the, like, he was saying how happy he was, making loose plans,
Oh.
showing like enthusiasm.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I thought there was some disappointment they didn't spend the night,
Got it.
so that doesn't seem to be true. But if that were the case, I would say don't hook up with people unless you're confident that they will. You know, if you have desires or expectations around what hooking up with someone, what in addition to hooking up with them, like how it all plays out, what the vibe you want, are they going to spend the night, or are you going to cuddle? Like, what do you hope happens after you have sex? You're allowed to have expectations. It's good that you have expectations. You should all have expectations. And if you're not clear on what those expectations are mutually, that might be a good personal barometer of whether maybe you should be intimate or not. Again, fuck whoever you want to fuck. I'm not here to judge. But the less expectations you have solidified before you make any decisions, the more likely you will be disappointed afterwards, because you are hoping that your expectations will be met rather than having some sort of, conversation and an expectation that the person expects to meet those expectations. So, anyway, navigating hookup culture. Anyways, next caller. Welcome back, Maggie. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good to be with you again. Why don't you go ahead, for our audience, give us a quick update on why you originally called, what was the advice we gave, and then where are we now?
Okay. So basically, I was talking to this girl and we had gone on one date, and then I was more emotionally invested in it than she was. And I was just kind of waiting for that next date to come, but she kept on flaking on me and it just never ended up working out. So your advice to me was to kind of let her reach out to me, and rather than me reaching out to her and see if she did. There was a lot of times where I kind of displayed my insecurities very early on, and you told me to stop doing that. Like basically let her figure that out on her own.
Sure. Well, let's to remind our audience a little bit more, let's play a quick clip from the original call, the advice we gave, and then we'll get an update.
Someone that I've been interested in is constantly flaking on me, and I don't know if I should give them another shot or just call it quits. It's one of the first people that I've been really talking to since my last breakup, and I've gone on dates since then, but then I just think about this person over and over again. Like, I don't know, she offers more than my ex did, so I think that pulls me in a little bit.
Your ex is not a bar. Your ex is an example of someone that doesn't work for you. So for me, it's kind of like you should learn all the things that you did not like from your ex, but also set sort of standards for yourself. Like, what do you want in the next person, and not necessarily use the last person as like the lowest comment, like the lowest bar that they just need to jump that bar, because your ex could have just been like a really shitty person, or like just someone that really was a horrible fit for you. And I think like when you're dating, it's more about like, this is what I want in this person. What are my sort of non-negotiables? And if someone doesn't reach those, you move on.
How many dates have you been on with her?
Just one.
Just one.
We plan to hang out, and then something comes up, and then we never reschedule it.
Okay.
Should I keep putting my time into this person and like wanting to make an effort to meet with them again, or should I just call it quits and move on? And so I didn't know how to see where she stood.
In my gut reading, well, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I was just curious.
Just curious, if you have any interest in still talking, getting to know each other, I know it's hard with our schedules and such, but just wanted to see where your head's at. Absolutely no pressure either way.
Sorry, yes, I do, but I understand it hasn't been very fair to you. I had a terrible week at work and had to work 80 hours, so I wasn't really able to put my attention on my phone or anything. You know she's busy. If nothing else, she might be just a really nice, wonderful person that's just like too busy to prioritize you. You already got out of a relationship where you didn't feel prioritized. So I would caution you to really invest in someone who just might not have the time for you. But either way, like you've made it clear, let her pursue you, you know, and let her reach out to you and not just check in. You can respond, but like you don't have to ask her how she's feeling. You don't have to ask her stop at asking her if you're annoying her. Just respond to her. Give her the energy, I guess. Maybe we're kind of contradicting herself, but I would let her reach out to you and then let her make a plan. And I don't think you need to like cut her off or anything. She's not your girlfriend. You're not even in a situationship with her. There's someone you went on a date with.
Right,
so
yeah, one date.
Get back on the app, start dating. And if she has an interest in you, she'll feel that energy of you pulling away and she'll maybe check in and say, let's get out. And she'll carve out some time for you.
Know your worth, know you're amazing, know you're hot, know you're just amazing of a person. And just if this isn't working for you, you bow out gracefully, you know, and you kind of move on to the next person. This person could very well be the one for you and like reappear later on.
Sure.
But to hold on to that energy is like so like, it's like holding your breath and it's exhausting, right? You're just like, like every day you check your phone. Did she text me? And it's just like, no, you shouldn't feel that way. You should have a text if this person was into you.
You need to let her come around and you need to stop chasing her. All right. Well, we are back. So after we spoke, what did you implement and where are we at now?
So after we spoke, I decided obviously not to reach out to her, and she reached out to me that night. It was the same thing, like the conversation really didn't go anywhere. We talked for a little bit and then she went ghost for a few days, and by a few days I mean like weeks.
Okay.
And then we talked a little more. We've talked like a little more here and there, but I've kind of put that to the back burner and started going on more dates and really like putting myself out there because I was really focused on her, and
Good for you.
I stopped dating because of it. It's been a journey. I got ghosted twice. Still trying to keep going. I've stopped apologizing so much.
Good for you.
That's like my biggest goal was to stop apologizing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it'll take some time. Are we completely done with the original gal?
I still like to respond to her when she answers or when she reaches out to me, but I don't really think it's going to go anywhere.
Why do you still respond?
I don't know. Part of me hopes that it would go somewhere, but
That's fair. Next time she responds, the low stakes here with her, right? Let's just maybe experiment. Let's try something new. If she reaches out next time and in the nicest possible way, to say, hey, you know, it's nice to hear from you, but to be honest, like it doesn't make much sense for us to talk anymore. You know, like I really liked you, and you know, it's no big deal. Obviously, you didn't feel the same way, but every time you randomly text me, it puts me back a little bit. So you know, unless something's drastically changing your end, like maybe it's just best that we don't anymore. I think you just kind of need to you need to stand your ground. You know, and you need to show her or anyone else in the future that you're not just some person that they can reach out to whenever they feel like it, and then you'll always respond. I liked what Ronnie said. He said, you know, mimic the behavior that you want in a relationship. So I love that in general that you are quick to respond to people you want to talk to, and that you don't play the same game of like, oh, well, they waited forever to text me, I'm going to wait forever to text them. That being said, if you notice a pattern of people just kind of coming in and out without any consistency, you know, you don't owe them, you know, you're always available, you know, that they can just pop in and leave and pop in and leave. So it doesn't do you any good in those situations to like wait 2 days just because they waited 2 weeks. Like they might not even notice, but what they will notice is you saying, hey, listen, like just don't, you know, a lot of people out there are just kind of used to that kind of keeping tabs, like building a roster, you know, just like having people around. And people are nowadays, when it comes to dating, they're not even like, they might even tell themselves they're looking for someone, or maybe they're telling themselves, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. And so, but they still go out and date because what they want to do is kind of collect people they can reach out to when they're feeling bored and lonely and they want some validation. And for all you know, to her, you're just serving as this like person I can just like, oh, like what's Maggie doing? You know, like, hey, and then you write back, and then whatever prompted her to feel like the need to reach out because, you know, maybe she was feeling not validated, but here you are quick to respond. And then you give that sense of like, well, I'm still number one in her mind kind of thing. And so you got to stop being that kind of fix for people, you know? And so I think it would be good practice for you. Low stakes here. This relationship's going nowhere fast anyways. And be nice about it. I would say, hey, it's nice to hear from you. But honestly, unless I'm missing something, I just don't think it makes much sense for us to keep talking.
Okay.
That's what I would say. I know when you say that the other people have ghosted, what do you mean? You know, you went on a couple dates and then what?
So I went on a couple of dates and then things seemed to be going okay, but then they just stopped responding completely.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's just dating culture these days. It's not a you thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
I do have a question though.
Shoot.
The most recent person, I think it's like almost going like on the direction of like a situationship, and I don't want it to go there. And I don't know if I have to like cut this person off completely to avoid that, or if there's any way to like keep them in my life and like not make it complicated.
Break down the situationship that you're in. How did it start? Where are we at? Why do you think it's a situation?
Well, so we met on a dating app, and then we talked for a bit, and like after talking for a bit, she was like, well, I'm not really like looking for anything serious. I'm not looking for a relationship right now. She has a lot to work out from like her past relationships. And we ended up meeting like that week. And then this past weekend, like we were just like friends. Like we said we were just going to be friends or whatever. But then this past weekend, we went out together, and then we ended up kissing, and now I just like feel it getting complicated.
Okay, so why are you saying yes to dates with people who are upfront with their expectations that they're not looking for anything serious when you are?
Well, because originally it was like, okay, then we're just gonna like talk, like get to know each other as friends, and it was going fine until this weekend, and then it just escalated to more than that.
Fair enough. But you did match with this person out of a physical attractiveness on a dating app, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
And I don't know,
but
like,
I also met like one of my best friends from the app too. So I think I was just like, oh, like
Sure,
that
fair
could
enough.
happen again, kind of thing. But now it's like getting
yeah,
more
I
complicated
can
now.
understand the confusion. I'm not super familiar with like lesbian culture and dating, and I can understand how there might be some overlaps. But in your case, I think you just need to really get good at setting boundaries for yourself. And also from a friend situation, like what is kind of your friend Rolodex look like? Are you hoping to meet new friends? Do you have a ton of friends? Like how would you assess your friendships right now?
So I have like a few close friends, but I'm always looking for more friends like within the community that I can connect to, because a lot of them are from like college or high school that like, I just want friends that also will be able to understand like what I'm going through and be there for me kind of thing. So it is nice to have friends that understand.
I don't think there's anything wrong, you know, with, you know, okay, you're attracted to women, so you go on, but you're also friends with women. You have platonic women friends, you have romantic women friends, right? All right, fine. So you go on dating apps and like you could meet both on a dating app. All right, that's fair. But again, you just have to get really good and probably much better at enforcing boundaries. That's your weak point, you know, like
yes.
It's like tough for you to stand up for yourself, and it's tough for you to say no to yourself, right? So, all right. So this particular woman, she's like, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious. You're just like, okay, fair enough. Let's go hang out as friends. Well, you really need to be willing to speak. If you feel like a vibe there, then you have to communicate. You know, you could say, hey, listen, maybe I'm crazy, but like, and I know you said you just want to be friends, but I'm feeling a little chemistry or whatever it is. I don't know what it was that made you think things were heating up, but at that moment, you need to communicate that. You need to say, you need to name it. You need to put it out there and to say, because, you know, I've had these situations in the past. It gets complicated, and I just want like, you know, and especially if you're in a situation where the person who communicated they just want to be friends makes a move on you, or they're the one who's acting. Yeah. So that you got to say no. Hey, hold time out.
Yeah.
Like you're a babe. You're beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm just as into this as you are. But you said you don't look at anything serious, and I'm not going to go down this whole situationship path. And like, unless things have changed for you, I think we're better off just not going there. There is no downside to saying that because you will only be more attractive to everyone. As inconvenient as people find boundaries, they find them equally as attractive. You know, they'll get annoyed by it and frustrated, but they're also like, oh, fuck, ugh, you know? Because when we limit our access to people, people just want more of it, you know? Like, we want the things we can't have. It's human nature. So think of it this way. Don't be afraid of the rejection or whatever. The better you get good at it, the more attractive you will come across to people. It will come across as someone who knows what they want, who doesn't waste their time, and you don't even have to say those things. You'll show them through your actions, you know, and you do it all very polite. You just say, hey, you know, it's, call that time out. It's just like, oh, you're hot. I want to do this, but like, you did say this, and unless things have changed, I just don't think we should go there. That simple.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing her this weekend, so I guess I have to do that sooner than later.
Yeah. Well, and so what has happened physically with her? Anything, or has it just all been kind of hard to read moments?
No, we've kissed multiple times.
Oh, you kissed multiple times. Okay.
It was like a couple of us were over at my house this weekend, and then she stayed an extra night as well.
She slept over. Did you guys hook up?
No.
No. Okay. But you did spend the night. She spent the night.
Yeah, she did.
Okay. If you want.
And like this weekend, we have a pride crawl event, bar crawl event this weekend. So we're like, 4 of us are staying in a hotel, and she's one of them.
Who are the other 2?
One of my best friends, and then her other friend.
Is there any connection between the other 2? Is this like a potential double date situation?
No,
Just
no.
Friends. All right.
But she's already made comments about about it.
About what?
Because she'll like make comments that she wants to go like find someone to kiss at Pride, but then doesn't want me to be jealous. But then also will like makes comments about kissing me at the end of the night. So I'm like, okay.
All right.
I don't know if you're trying to make me jealous or like.
Either way, you need
I don't know.
you need to stop trying to figure out these people and start communicating your boundaries. That's the takeaway you need to take from this call. Because if I were you right now, I would reach out to her, and maybe you can even text it if you want, and just say, hey, looking forward to this weekend, but can I be honest? Can we just be friends? Just because I know you're not looking for anything serious, and I think you're an amazing person, and I love spending time with you, and I think we're just better off focusing on our friendship and leave it at that. Now, also, you need to be honest with yourself that you really want that, because don't fucking say, hey, I want to be friends with someone, while in reality, you just have a crush on her, and then you're going to be moping around all weekend while she's looking for someone else to make out with, because you've set a boundary of friendship. So
Okay.
what's going on in your head?
I think I just have to cut it off now before it gets too involved, and then I end up getting hurt because I don't want to lose her altogether either.
Yeah.
So
I think the more calm you can be, and yeah, you just say, hey, I was thinking, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think we should just stop with the making out. As much as I think it's great, and you can throw the compliments. I think it's great, but you're not looking for, and just say, you're not looking for anything serious. And you say it like that because you want her to think like, yeah, you have no problem with her setting that boundary. It's not like, well, unless things have changed, you know, like don't be fishing for a different answer. Just say, you said you don't want anything serious, so I want to respect your boundary, and let's just not, because otherwise I don't want to risk our friendship, and just leave it at that. The hard part is hanging out with her this weekend and treating her like a friend, and do not give in to those fucking moments. The more you can resist, the more power you have with any of these people. And my guess is that's why you feel like you're getting ghosted a lot, because you're giving away your power so easily with these people, and they can feel it. You know, people feel that kind of energy, and when people feel like they're in more control, have more power, they get less considerate and less thoughtful, and they make kind of excuses for their own actions. And they're just like, what? I mean, I told you that I just wanted to be friends or whatever. So your goal is to take your power back in all these interactions. And to do that is to simply remind people of the boundaries they set with you and enforce the boundaries that you set with them. And you do it very calm.
okay,
All right?
I definitely think I can do that. Yeah.
I know you can do that. It just might take a little bit of practice. It's a lot less scary than it feels, I promise.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is going to be holding my ground this weekend, but I'll do it.
It's up to you. All right? You are aware of the emotional baggage it costs you when you don't respect your own boundaries. You're sad, you're depressed, you feel bad about yourself, you feel used, you know, so that's on you. You have to remind yourself of the cost. It's like someone when they get to the point where it's like, I just don't want to be fucking hungover again. I'm just not, It's not worth it. I'm not going to get fucked up tonight because I don't want to pay for it tomorrow.
All right.
Well, good
sounds
luck. We definitely want an update. We want to see if we want to see. I'm going to hold you accountable to the follow through.
All right. I definitely will.
All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
We have our final update from episode 600, Texting Office Hours. It was a couple. It was Sarah and Mark. And Sarah was having problems with
Yeah.
Mark's brother.
Yeah.
A little bit of maybe her offering her feedback on her brother-in-law's life, his dating life. Wasn't very well received.
I totally remember them.
Silent treatment from the brother-in-law. So I have an update from Sarah. She says, I ran into him, being the brother-in-law. He then came over and acted like everything was normal, didn't bring anything up. And then while Mark was putting our kids to bed, I asked if there was anything he wanted to talk about. And the conversation went south pretty fast. So I do find it interesting that it goes south when Mark's not in the room, but that's my own POV. Long story short, he told me he didn't read my text and he was still really upset with me. After a few minutes, I said I was feeling uncomfortable with the conversation. He ended up storming off, calling me a bitch, and leaving. It was tough. The main thing he was saying was that at some point in the prior conversation, I had said, do you want my opinion? To which he said no. And then in his memory, I said, well, here it is anyways, which just frankly isn't true, but I didn't push it too hard.
Well, did she offer her opinion at some point?
Well, it seems like basically she had asked, in her recollection, she had asked him, do you want my opinion? He had said no.
Yeah.
And then in his retelling of the story, he said, and then you just proceeded with it anyways. And said, well, here it is anyways. And she said, that's not true.
I'm hearing that he accused her of saying, well, here it is anyways. And my guess is this is like semantics.
Yeah.
My guess is she didn't say, well, here it is anyways. But my guess is she did, in fact, deliver said opinion regardless of him saying, I'm not interested in the opinion.
She says, I really feel confidently that I didn't say that. So I think we're caught up on maybe that phrase. But she said, if that's what you remember, then I'm not going to try to change your memory. And if I did say something similar to that, or even alluded to that, or
she just gave her opinion,
or even just miscommunicated, I'm sorry. And then mentioned how in my text, I'm trying to be better at listening instead of talking. So I think she handled it well. He then said I was lying, that I'm not a good person. And that's pretty much when I said I was feeling uncomfortable and the name calling started. It felt hurtful in the moment, but I've been trying to tell myself it's probably less about me and more about what is going on in his life. I'd love to have him in our life again, but the name calling is a pretty hard boundary for me, so I'm giving myself space for the situation for now. Thanks for checking in. Love the household so much.
Yeah. She shouldn't be. She needs to cut him off.
I do. I really want to applaud her for saying like she didn't try to change his memory. Her saying she apologizes if she did or even alluded to that. I think she handled it really well.
Yeah, I think if my interpretation is correct, I think she could do a little better, and I think she's arguing with him over semantics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she probably knows that. And again, there's no excuse for his behavior and his language. But, maybe she just is sticking her nose where it's just not appreciated, And he just sounds like a guy who I think he's expecting just unquestioned loyalty from, her because it's his sister-in-law. And, she listens to this show. So on this show, we pride ourselves in being good friends, even if being a good friend means sometimes upsetting your friends. Now, that's a fine line, and we can get that wrong sometimes. But, right now, he is not interested in hearing anything other than praise or support. And I think she needs to recognize that and accept that, because if someone's not interested in hearing your feedback, you're wasting your breath offering it to them. As a friend, you could say, hey, listen, I know you're not interested in hearing my opinion, but like at the same time, I have a strong opinion about this. So like we can agree to disagree and not talk about it, but I'm just not going to support your actions with this. Like we all have a right to do that. But other than that, like you don't offer your opinion when it's not welcomed, because you are only going to create more conflict. And if nothing else, maybe that's a lesson here because I'm willing to bet while she didn't say that, she just proceeded to offer the opinion he wasn't welcome to receiving. And he just took that as disrespect. Either way, it sounds like he sucks in a lot of ways. And this relationship that ended, because this was based off of some relationship he ended, and like she didn't take his side. I'm starting to understand why, that maybe he's the reason why the relationship went south, because he sounds a bit reactive.
Don't call your sister-in-law a bitch.
Don't call anyone a bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, your buddies, I guess I don't know. But yeah, just don't be reactive. Don't be name calling. Anyways, set those boundaries for yourself. Maybe just take a step back and being the advice giver in this relationship. If in the long term she still hopes to salvage this relationship, maybe the best that she can have with her brother is being supportive to him in situations which she agrees with offering him support. And then in situations in which she doesn't agree with him, just mind your business. We are faced with choices. If sometimes to have relationships with people, we have to make certain choices and sacrifices, even if those sacrifices means I don't get to say everything I want to say, which means you're just not going to be that close. They're not going to be your ride or die. They're not going to be the type of friend that you share everything with. This is about maintaining a civil relationship with someone that is ultimately family. Anyways, next caller. Welcome back, Abby. How's it going?
Hi, Nick. How are you? I'm doing so good.
Great. I'm doing well as well. Are you still a fuckboy? I'm just kidding. Last time we spoke that you were juggling a couple men, metaphorically. Maybe you're doing some juggling as well. I don't know.
Yeah, for the listeners, I need you to know Nick was wiggling his fingers, I think, tickling balls.
Yeah, a ball juggle.
There's a ball tickling.
Ball tickling. So you had a guy that, well, in your words, just remind the audience a quick synopsis of why you called.
Yeah. So I was stuck between two guys. One I had more of an emotional connection with, and one I had more sexual chemistry with. And as we dived into it, the guy that I had more of an emotional connection with wasn't as open to using like toys and stuff in the bedroom.
He was a little Mr. Missionary.
Mr. Missionary, no vibrator man.
Yeah.
And then we had sexy man, but he was long distance.
Okay. Yeah.
So just so you know, I've officially hung up my fuckboy title.
You have. All right. Well, before we get into that detail, let's play a quick clip from your original call to just fully bring people up to speed.
Relive the glory days.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm in love with two guys and need help choosing between emotional connection and sexual chemistry.
Okay. How long have you been seeing these guys?
For 5 months. And to add a layer to it is, although it's been 5 months, and I do talk to them on a daily basis, these are long distance situations.
I love the fuckboy energy. I'm just fucking with you.
No, because I've been very honest. I feel like that's not like
fuckboys.
Totally fuckboy.
Fuckboys can be very honest. And so one, you just really love their dick, and the other one, you really love their heart, or like, what do we?
Yeah, it's they're both like incredible guys. So
Okay.
they both like really hold a lot of characteristics and values that I really cherish in someone. However, like when I'm really trying to decipher one, I just have more of a emotional connection with, as in like, I feel like we've had deeper conversations. Like I can be super unfiltered, just really raw. But like the sex is kind of vanilla. Not that I'm unsatisfied, but it's just not like, he's not adventurous in that department.
Have you tried to be adventurous with him?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay.
It was like an immediate no.
You can literally use a vibrator in the bedroom for you two to connect in different ways. And
I couldn't agree more. And I feel like that's what's happening with this other guy, is that there is so much openness and so much adventure there that we're like really connecting in a different way.
Where is Mr. Vibrator falling short?
We haven't gotten to those super deep conversations that I have with this other guy.
Sex can evolve, and both like ability to connect emotionally can evolve too. We know that you tried to incorporate a vibrator and got shot down by guy A. Do we know if you've tried to incorporate deeper conversations, at least on some level, and felt shot down by guy B?
Yeah, no. Like, I mean, we have had like deep conversations. Again, not as deep as the emotional guy, but I haven't felt shot down.
What do you have fun doing with Sexy Man that doesn't include having sex?
We love to cook together. We love to like dance. We love to travel.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And when
I
you're
mean, I just like basically have fun with him no matter what. I could be in a cardboard box with him and like have fun.
sex guy.
Yeah.
To me, it almost sounds like you're too cautious about the sex that you're enjoying and you're judging yourself for potentially being shallow because you like the sex so much. But I heard I could be hanging on a cardboard box with this guy and having fun.
Yeah.
I think we should start with the guy who you think might be slightly in the lead, which is sex guy.
Mhm.
And then you try to address this long distance problem. And that might give you the clarity you need. All right. So what's the update?
Okay, so I really took your solid advice to heart, and you really recommended me to sit down with Sexy Man because that's kind of what I was leaning towards, and talk about the fact that we were long distance. And that was kind of a huge elephant in the room. And so I basically did that immediately after our call and reached out to him and shared how I felt, and that I wanted to move into an exclusive relationship. However, we needed to address that we were long distance. So where do we see that relationship going? And like, how do we keep up the momentum in our relationship long distance? So yeah, it was a wonderful conversation, and I'm happy to report that we are boyfriend, girlfriend.
Love, all right.
Thank you.
And this was we spoke a while back, so it's been going, things are going good.
Yeah.
Super good. Yeah, I've actually have visited him once before, and I'm here now visiting him as well.
Is he available? Do we get to meet him?
Maybe once I have the courage to tell him that I went on the podcast.
The reveal.
I mean, he has me to thank.
That's true. That is true. One day when we get married, we'll do a toast to you.
Yeah, there we
Nick.
go. I'm just kidding. We not necessary. How did we let the other guy off? How did we put a bow on that?
Yeah, so I felt like we had a great conversation. So no vibrator guy. Obviously, I had to cut ties with him. And I just shared with him that although I thought we had a great connection and he's genuinely like a very great guy, I just couldn't get over the lack of exploration in the bedroom.
You said that to him.
I did say that
Good
to
for
him.
you.
Yeah,
Good for
I
you.
wanted to be honest.
Good for you. Yeah. No, it's something for him to do with what he wants. I don't know, but it's specific feedback. And what did he say to that?
So it was interesting. Like he didn't have an excuse in any way. It was more of an acknowledgement. He was like, yeah, I mean, that's just not my cup of tea. I'm just not that person. I don't know if I can be that with a person, which I don't want to like sex shame him. Like I don't want to push somebody to do something they're uncomfortable with. So I just really wanted to make him like feel comfortable that that's his choice in the bedroom. However,
Yeah.
It's
not
something
yours.
that's so important to me. I don't want to sacrifice that in my relationship.
I love that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Just
So it was a
some
great, honest conversation. I don't know, like there wasn't any like mean words or there wasn't any anger. It all came from a really good place. So I haven't talked to him since, but it was a good conversation.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys could just agree to disagree. It wasn't
Mhm.
like I'm not going to judge you or you're not going to judge me. It's just like if we're being honest, our sex life, we're not on the same page. And you weren't willing to budge. He wasn't willing to budge. And there you go. No harm, no foul, so that's okay.
And he deserves a woman that's going to love vanilla sex just like him.
There you
So
go.
I'm just not that lady.
All right, back to the relationship that we are in, that we're happy with. What are you doing? What's working for the relationship? How are you guys managing long distance? Has the connection evolved since when we last talked? It was just a guy with a really beautiful dick. I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's a true statement.
Yeah.
So.
But how have we grown in the emotional department?
Yeah. So overall, I think you were like so right about how this conversation just was like a foundation to open up more of an emotional connection. And so, yeah, I feel like we are on a deeper level because we're talking so much about our future, and just like how we get to like our long-term goal. So obviously our long-term goal is moving to the same city. And so like through talking about it realistically, I would need to move to him, which I'm totally okay with. It's just
He's
matter
a lawyer,
of getting
right?
to that point because I own a business.
Yeah. And he's a lawyer?
Yes, he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that. But ironically enough, this is so wild. Since like committing to a relationship with him, I've been actually getting a lot of work in his area. So not only am I like visiting to see him, but I'm also like working too. So it makes like moving out here more foreseeable in the future.
I love that. Great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so cool?
Manifesting your destiny.
Thank you. Yeah. So it feels like really good as far as like moving into the direction of eventually ending up in the same city. But for now, we pretty much see each other once a month. Kind of our rule of thumb is like we don't go a few weeks without seeing each other. And we've already like mapped out all of our adventures for the rest of the year. So we're not like trying to figure out when are we going to see each other next. It's like already taken care of. So that's been really nice.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Look at that. Just a real direct and honest conversation. Solved all your problems.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Who would have
And
thought?
your advice, Nick. I needed your advice.
Well, I'm glad I could help. But it sounds like you were just willing to do what was necessary and just really articulate how you felt with both guys. Because it sounds like you weren't really as confused as you might have thought you were. It was just like one guy was living in your hometown, so by nature you got to hang out with him more and build a connection. And then the other guy was not as available, but you really enjoyed him more. And then, and then there was like an awkward conversation to talk about like his lack of interest in being exploratory in the bedroom. And it just required you to like actually talk.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and I needed to really figure out like what was important to me. And yeah, just through the conversations, I feel so happy and so content. And yeah, just like really excited for what the future holds.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. Glad you have found love, and so congratulations on the business thriving. And just keep us posted on this love story. And if in the meantime, all updates are welcome. If there's something that you guys are experiencing in your relationship, good or bad, and you find a healthy way through it, share with the audience. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate you.
All right.
And
likewise.
your team. You are all amazing.
Likewise. Thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate it as well. All right. Well, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, we have 11 more of these episodes behind Viall Files Plus. So if you haven't signed up for Viall Files Plus yet, go ahead and go to viallfiles.com. There's a button right there that says Viall Files Plus. It's a 7-day free trial. Just go in. You could probably listen to all 10 updates in 7 days if you really were that motivated. But give it a shot. Try it out. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Also, we'll be recapping now. There is a Vanderpump recap from season 1, episode 1 through 3 is out. Go check that out. That's on Behind Viall Files Plus. There's so much content available. Thanks for supporting. We love you. We'll see you back on Monday. Bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.